coming on in. Let me see. Come on. So we'll give everybody a few minutes. I forgot to post the link, but it's a recurring link, so I finally just pinned it, but we'll give people a few minutes to come on in. I think I'll share screen.
Hey guys, welcome to my channel.
It's always not dynamic with this format. We'll all be talking each other's ears off. Every virtual format, it's just silence.
Okay. Let's see. I'll just let everybody know we're starting. And we'll get started. I know there are people in births and there's lots of new people. I do want to do intros since we have a small enough group and we have new people. So let me just do this last post and then we'll get going. If I can figure out how to spell the word start, that would help. Okay. Okay. I'll turn my camera back on. We'll get going. Okay. We are small but mighty in here. All right. So let's see how, yeah, I guess there are a few of us who are new. So I'll start with, go from across the top of my screen and we'll just go down in order. And if you can just introduce yourself by saying like who you are, what you do, like what kind of work do you do, and how long you've been doing that work. That's probably sufficient. So I'll start with Vanessa. You're at the top.
Okay. I'm Vanessa. I am a mom of 3, 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and 8-month-old, who you may see from time to time nursing with his little foot in my face. And I am a birth doula. I'm still pretty new. So I've been doing that for, see, my daughter's 3, so like 2.5 years or so. And I'm also a yoga instructor and teach prenatal yoga. And I'm also a professional harpist musician. So that's just, and a military spouse. So that's about it.
Learn something new every day, a harpist. I love that. Have you been playing like in the last few months, last few weeks?
Not a bunch. I have rolled my harp out onto our driveway a few times, and I've played for neighbors and people walking by or whatnot.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
That's lovely. Well, thank you. I am next across the screen, so I'll introduce myself. I'm Reve Sinclair. I have been a birth doula for almost 19 years. That's craziness. I've been a postpartum doula for 5 years, and I'm also a certified childbirth educator. I am also, in my former life, I was an attorney. I still practice from time to time, but not in criminal courts, thankfully. Yeah, that's me. Leah, you are next. I won't attempt to say your last name.
It's Kapatahe.
Oh, Kapatahe?
Yeah. So you just pronounce the J with like an H.
Oh.
So hello, I'm Leah. I am a mother of 3 as well, all boys, ages 10, 8, and 6. I was a birth doula for maybe like 4 years, I want to say. And I kind of, in those years, did postpartum work as well. And then I permanently switched over to just postpartum because I'm a nursing student right now. And so just the unpredictability of the schedule with, being a birth doula just, that it would be complicated. So I'm no longer doing that, and I miss birth so much. But I'm a nursing student, hopefully to become a CNM eventually. That's my end goal right now. So, and a little bit about me. One of my hobbies is painting. I don't play music though. I wish I did. But yeah, and then hiking. So that's a little bit about me.
Excellent. Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
Shannon, you are next. Sorry, there's 2 Shannons. Shannon Klee.
I'm at the top of my screen, but I don't know anyone else's screen.
Yeah, that's you.
Okay. Yeah. Hi. So I'm Shannon Klee. It's my last name. I have got 2 teenage boys and 1 husband and 3 cats in a townhouse. And I have been a Bradley method teacher and a birth doula since I started in, I think, 2011. And I'm at the point though, I've kind of lost the fire. I keep ending up in cesarean sections and hospitals and never a home birth. So I don't get to see the nice, peaceful, I hear all the beeps and the interventions and so it's, I don't know. I'm at a point of deciding whether my fire's out or not. But I also substitute teach, which that's also kind of DOA now, given the state of things. But you know what? We're okay. We're good. And that's just, I guess, more mothering than anything else right now in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And very involved in Scouts. My sons are in a troop. I guess that's an identification of mine. Mm-hmm. And there we go. That's my story.
Good. Thank you. You're finding your way. You're in transition.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, you're in transition. Yeah. Yeah. So, Allie, I see you next. So we don't hear your interpreter.
Okay, all right. Let me say again. I'm
Allie,
and I am a birth doula. I've been for 4 years now, about, yeah. Also, I teach children childbirthing class with my team, my co-partner. The 2 of us have been doing that, and I love doing that type of work. I also train in one program, but now I'm in a different training program. And so that is a Black-owned program. It's trying to see different points of view, different lenses to see, and I'm trying to learn both ways right now. Like, again, as a spectrum doula, full spectrum doula training, and childbirthing training as well. And again, it's a new perspective, so I'm anxious to see where that's going to lead me. I also have 3 children, all boys. It seems like we have a lot of moms of boys here. One is a 7-year-old, the other is a 5-year-old, and the youngest is a 3. Definitely keeping me busy, and I'm here in Frederick, Maryland.
Awesome. Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Hi. Thank you. Okay, Drea Peterson, I see you next. No softball tonight?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Drea Peterson. No softball ended at 6:30, so I get to be here tonight. I have 2 kids. I'm a softball coach of my daughter's team. She's 11. And I'm a birth and postpartum doula and a lactation counselor and educator as well. And I've been doing it about 4+ years. I live in Vienna. I love what I do, although I can relate to Shannon in that mostly my job is mothering at the moment, which is great too. And I'm super happy to be here, happy to be learning with you all. I hope everyone else is getting as much out of this group as I have been the last few weeks. So thank you, Reve. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for being here. Trying to figure out how to get JL into the group. The link isn't working for her. So, Shannon Serrano, you are next.
Hello. I am a childbirth doula and also a childbirth educator. I've been doing childbirth education for just 2 years, but I've been doing doula work for over 5 years now. And I'm also a mother of 4 children, 3 boys, 1 girl, 3 of which are teenagers and 1 is a preteen. So that's ages 16, 15, 13, and 12. And yeah, I've been doing a lot of doula and childbirth education, doula work and childbirth education lately. Virtual seems to work well for a lot of moms right now, the ones who are willing to take the risk, as they would say it. Definitely some people were afraid to book virtual services during this pandemic, but I'm hoping to get some people to write some reviews to encourage other mothers to go ahead and step out on faith and use a doula during this time.
Yeah, there was an article I saw. I ended up sharing too. I think Ursula from the DMV area was quoted in it from on Pop Sugar about virtual doulas and like tips and how they work. So I think people just maybe need to be educated about how it can help them. It's not everything, but it's definitely something. So yeah. Okay, next we have Katie Baxter.
Hi.
Hi.
Good to see you. I'm Katie. I use she, her. I'm here in DC, just off H Street. I'm a birth and postpartum doula. I've been so for about 3 years. Before that, I was a nanny for a long time, kind of on and off, which is somehow how I came to doula work. Lately, with the pandemic, I've been hosting a postpartum group online, which has been really fulfilling for me. And in my non-COVID life, I'm also a vegan chef. I usually cook privately in homes and for yoga retreats and such, but that one's a little on pause for now. It's so nice to be here with you all.
Thank you. I'm learning so much about you all. Vegan chef. I'm loving that. Okay, Betsy, you are next. Good to see your face.
Hi, my name is Betsy Quilligan. I use she, her. I'm a postpartum doula, although I haven't had a client since March, and have kind of purposely taken a hiatus because my children are 8 and 6 and have required a little bit more stability in that they need me within eyesight at all times. So I'm on hiatus for work for a little while, but I also do comprehensive sex education for elementary students, which means I teach a curriculum for kindergarten 1st grade level and a 4th, 5th, and 6th grade level. and have been looking for ways to expand that to sort of doula parents through that experience talking to their own children, because they often want somebody else to just do it for them, and it's not really how that works. So I'm looking for ways to expand into that work also.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Whitney Marsh, you are next.
Hi guys, I'm Whitney. I apologize. I feel like I'm a mess and all over the screen. I'm just getting home and getting settled in. So I'm sorry. So I live in Logan Circle-ish. I've been a postpartum doula for 9 years now. So I was a public school teacher and then took a break to be a nanny, and also, like Katie, that's sort of how I got into it and have nannied off and on. Have also worked with Early Head Start as a parent educator, and it's really good to say I'm a postpartum doula because I have not been a doula very much lately. I also have a space called Lemon Tree. This is a play group, and we have a new moms postpartum group and a few other programs. So that is obviously on pause, and I'm struggling with that, but I'm really happy to be here. Oh, and I have no children, so I am stress-free or different stresses during COVID.
We have different stresses.
Different stresses.
Yes, we do.
But yeah, thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here.
Yes, thank you for being here. My screen moved around. Let's see. Vanessa, you are next. Are you driving? No. Okay.
No, I am sitting in the car though, so you probably hear this loud ass storm behind me.
Oh, it's storming. Oh my goodness.
Oh, storming, lightning, thunder, booming. I mean, it's doing the most. And I'm at Hayes Point, so it's like out in the elements. But I'm Vanessa. I am a birth and postpartum doula. In December, it will be 5 years. I'm also a certified lactation counselor. What else am I supposed to be talking about? I missed the very beginning piece.
Just like who you are, what you do, and then like how long you've been doing it. If you want to share something about yourself, kind of unique.
Okay. What do I do? Oh, so I've been not really. I wasn't doing a lot of working. Now I am working with the family that I've been working with for about 4 weeks. That ends. It was a 6-week assignment. So prior to that, not really doing a lot. Doing a little virtual and a few virtual and in-person lactation visits. Oh, I'm in the process of becoming an IBCOC. So like right around the time that I started working with this postpartum family again, I started going back into the clinic for my clinical hours. So it was kind of very strange from going from 0 to like 150 again, from going into the clinic and then working with a family 4 days a week. So that was a little bit overwhelming after 2 months of sitting at home in my, house, but good. And I guess I have a background in a lot of things, but domestic violence and sexual assault. So I don't really do work with that anymore, but that is something that I'm very passionate about, and I kind of occasionally keep my ear towards that. And it's just been really helpful because in all the work that I did before and the work that I've done since, I always am able to see domestic violence and unhealthy relationships pretty much everywhere I go. And I'm sure, Reve, you being an attorney, you know all about it. And I don't have children. I am single. So that is an interesting experience in COVID because I was not always single.
Mm-hmm. Lots of changes, right? We probably should talk about how people like are managing the lull in business and how others have been able to kind of keep it going. Maybe that'll be helpful for us to chat through today. Let me just let a couple people in. The next I see on my screen is Megan. Hi, Megan Ellis. Megan Ellis. I think is there more than one? No.
I'll mute myself. Sorry.
Oh.
Hey guys, I'm Megan. I'm a birth doula and childbirth educator with Lamaze. I've been doulaing for a little over 2 years now in the Baltimore area. Some PG County stuff because I have family out there, but haven't done that in a while because that was kind of a stretch. Yeah, I mean, there's been a little bit of a lull. I've been getting, it's starting to kind of pick back up, but people are inquiring about estimated due months in like November and December, stuff like that. I've done some childbirth education. I've done some virtual, I've worked with some families virtually. And I actually have a parent, a mom who's going in tomorrow for an induction, and I will be her primary support person. This is the first person that I will actually be with during the whole COVID thing. It's her fourth child, and she really wants a doula this time to do something different. And her husband is like, I've seen this 3 times already. And I still get freaked out. And so he's going to stay with the younger kids while I go with her. And then he'll come after. And so they're allowing me to leave and him to come, later on. So that, it'll be nice to be with someone for the first time since February, I think it was. It's been a while. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. And I have a 4-year-old son, so he's been keeping me pretty busy other than, my work stuff. I am working from home right now. So there's a lull in doula business, but everything else has been crazy. So it's not really,
right.
I haven't really had I've had some downtime, but it's not downtime, so to speak.
I understand. Thank you. Welcome. Okay, my screen moved. I think all of our screens moved. So Akila, hey girl. Just tell us who you are, like what you do, and like how long you've been doing it, and maybe a little something about yourself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Akila. I am a birth and postpartum doula. I've been trained as both since 2018. I did my birth training back in March of 2018 and my postpartum training back in October of 2018. I am also certifying to be a Lamaze childbirth educator, and I also serve as a hospital volunteer doula at Sentara Princess Anne in Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Awesome. Welcome. Let's see. We have Mia. Mia O. I'll unmute you. Let's see. Oh, she said just a minute. Okay. I'll move on to someone who's on telephone, but I think one is Allie's teammate. If you are a doula and you're on telephone, you can unmute yourself and introduce yourself. I don't have your name, so I can't call you out. But it's a 240-421-2654 phone number. Yes, no, no? No problem. We'll keep going. So I think,
Oh, hello?
Oh, yes. Hi.
Sorry, I couldn't figure out how to unmute myself. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can. You're whispering.
Okay.
But we can hear you.
I just put the baby down and he's sleeping. So my name is Dee, and I took my training I think in like October of 2018 with Nicole, and I've had a few clients since then. I kind of had to put birth work kind of on the back burner because I got pregnant and then I was in school. But I did have one client when I was 6 months pregnant back in August of last year. But anywho, my son is now 7 months old, and during the day, I work in pediatric transplant as a medical assistant. And I've been doing that for 5 years now in pediatric transplant, but I've been a medical assistant for far too long. So I'm actually going to apply to nursing school next month when the summer session of classes ends.
You're busy. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Hope the baby stays asleep. So Mia, I think Mia's ready. Tell us who you are, what you do, how long you've been doing it, and a little fun fact about you.
Hi, sorry, I wasn't sure if I had to talk. So I'm Mia, that's my nickname. I'm actually Michelle. I'm new to Maryland. So I came out here from Oregon where I've been a naturopath for 6 years and as a nurse and a certified doula, birth and postpartum. And I'm finishing up the requirements for so Oregon has the naturopathic midwifery program, and then you can go on after 10 more births to take the NARM exam. So I'm finishing up the naturopathic midwifery. Even though I'm out here, I'm trying to just pull all the paperwork and everything. It's only like I needed 10 postpartum, and I haven't worked on it in like 3 or 4 years. So I'm just getting back into it. And I'm not sure exactly what this group is, so sorry about that. But I did see that on Facebook, and I was trying to just join people this business because I'm really new and I'm in a rural place in Easton.
Okay. Well, welcome. And okay, I think let me just check the chat really quickly. Oh, okay, got it. Okay, I think we nailed it with everyone who's joining. Just trying to get a couple people in who are trying to navigate the link. All right, so, okay, so today we were set to talk through how to be an anti-racist. We're definitely going to do that. I did want to also take a moment to try to navigate the Google Classroom, so because that's new, and I saw a few people had some challenges getting in to the classroom. I'm going to admit, I think some of you, if you've been around the last 6 weeks, you have heard me say, me and technology, we are not best friends around here at all. So I do my best. So I can't actually resolve the challenges, but I think Google Classroom is new to me. And I also think that it is a little finicky, like depending on if you have like a Gmail account or a Yahoo account, there's ways to make it work. But I was hoping it'd be really simple because you can go right to the URL classroom.google.com. And so you can just do that through a browser. So if anybody was having trouble getting into the work group, just doing that through the URL and clicking the plus sign for adding, and then it usually will give you a prompt or a button to say join the class, join a class, and then it'll ask for your password, which I posted in the Facebook group. So this is, oh, and it's here too. It'll ask for the class code. It's right here too. I think I can make it bigger. So yeah, so it's right there, the MUVMW5E. So that's unique. It hasn't, that's been the code attached to it since I started the classroom like 2 weeks ago, trying to find my way through it. But hopefully this will give us an opportunity to have like multiple education opportunities going on simultaneously. So when you get here, so first, let me just see, did anybody, I think Megan, you had challenges getting on. Anybody else have challenges and that weren't able to resolve them with like getting in to the Google Classroom?
I did get in just now. I just used a different Gmail.
Okay.
Because I have multiple Gmail accounts, so I use my main primary Gmail account and not one of the other ones, and it was fine. It's fine now.
Yeah, I think it's finicky. I don't know why.
I found a tip. What I think it is like my older Gmail account worked.
Yeah.
Another account that I had set up later, and another like my business account that I set up through Google, but it says my business name. Those wouldn't work. So it's like early Gmail accounts.
Oh, who knew? Like, how are we going to navigate that? Okay. So hopefully we won't have a lot of problems with it, but one of the things is I just felt like we needed, people want to learn, and there's so much to learn. And I think people want to do it at different paces. People also want to be in smaller groups. So although there's 200 of us in the group, we want to be able to break it down to a smaller learning session for people. So we're going to try this. I think this will work for us. And then it was nice to see Jessica. So this is the stream page. So that's, it just lists when things get posted or comments are made. From me, I guess I'm listed as the teacher, like, yeah. So that's just by default. I'm not really the teacher, y'all, but because I'm learning stuff too. But Jessica did post that she was really happy to see that we were, able to do the Google Classroom because she's not a big Facebook user. And I think we have people like that. So I'm hoping that this will attract people who really don't love the Facebook platform. It's definitely great for like sharing articles and videos and things like that kind of quickly, but not great for like discussion and for privacy. So this allows us to, if we go out of stream and you click on classwork, it allows me to kind of set up some like groupings of things that we're working on. So all of the work group gatherings, which are our calls, the first, second, and third one, this one. Oh, am I recording this? Yes, okay. So yeah, full disclosure, just for the sake of people being able to be a part of the calls, we will just need to record. So I understand that people who don't want to be recorded probably won't come to the calls and they'll just watch the videos. But that's the only way we can kind of keep everybody in the loop, so to speak. But all the videos, so they're going to be posted. I created like a YouTube channel just for this work group. It's private. Nobody's going to see what you all are saying. I'm not using it for any other purpose other than to, Google Classroom would only let me post a video, not directly, from YouTube basically. So, they're all in cahoots. So it's fine. So I created a group just for that. But, as I said in the very first call around recordings, if this ever dissolves, we, kind of go away. I'm going to delete them. I'm not, I don't want things to be shared. I don't want things coming up that you shared privately or, with us to come back up. And so, that's my word, and I'll keep it just, I want everybody to be able to do this work and have some privacy and be able to be vulnerable. The only other option was to like share the videos in our Facebook group, and I didn't feel comfortable with that. So this is what we have. If you have concerns or challenges, you can message me and maybe there's something I haven't thought of, and we can think through it or talk through it. Let's see. So I did post a question. It lets you post questions. So I asked just like, what are some interesting things that you're doing to combat racism? So people posted, and I can see who, it lets me know who read or who posted or whatnot. Some of you answered privately, and that's completely fine. It's helpful for other people to hear what you're doing. I know, I think it was Kim Hawkins, I think. She's working on a quilt. Like when we were on, you'll see it on call number 2. I think she was working on a quilt, and that's a project apparently that somebody is doing, combating racism. And so if people are doing things like that, I think we want to post them and share so that we can invest or support you in some of that work. So that's what that particular thread is for. And the good part is this stuff is here, it'll be here. So you can always come back to it. So we have the work group gatherings there. Then the teaching tool, the white supremacist pyramid, we looked at that last week. So it's going to come up in gathering video number 3. And we had a really good discussion about it. So I added it here because I thought it's such a great teaching tool for those of you who are really, really challenged with friends and family who don't get why being indifferent or why minimizing people's experiences when they say, you know, that was racist or I'm experiencing microaggressions. It really helps to help you explain to people who really don't get it, how they're contributing to a larger problem. I'm just trying to see, okay, so if you go into the question, it just says like, where have you seen yourself on the pyramid? Has your family been impacted by attitudes or actions on the white supremacy pyramid? So where have you seen yourself? And then maybe where has your family been impacted? So from 2 different vantage points. And the Google slide is in here because this particular platform is not great with images. So I had to kind of find a way to do it. So I did it on a Google slide. But this is the image that we talked about last week. And most people are finding themselves and their family at that bottom, the wider, at the base, which is indifference. You know, so when racist jokes are made, they're not challenging them. We talked about that last week as well. You'll see that video and the discussion in video number 3. People trying to remain neutral on the political side, avoiding confrontation with racist family members. I know that that's happening, even with people in our group. And so, but being indifferent is part of the problem. And then the minimization, we hear this a lot, like, you know, get over slavery, or not all white people, ... Or, just what I experienced last week, people not believing the experiences of people of color or Black people when they say, this happened to me. You know, we see that disbelief quite a lot. It's really embedded in our culture to not believe the Black person or the person of color over a white person. It's really kind of people's go-to. We see it in birth quite a lot. And if you haven't seen it up to now, if you tune in, you'll be able to see it. It's some of that power dynamic with doctors and nurses and Black birthing people. Or people saying like, get over slavery, or when something racist is said, they say, oh, you're being sensitive, it's just a joke. So like, again, that minimizing, knowing that if the foundation isn't there, then all the other stuff that's happening that's more obvious can't exist. Like, you know, racist mascots. Okay, what's the football team called now? Washington football team, no longer the Redskins. You know, this whole bootstrap theory, like pull yourself by your bootstraps, and without acknowledging all the ways that society is set up against Black people in particular, even though we've helped build this country. But it also supports things like racial slurs, which support, you know, the use of swastikas, which supports the KKK, which supports a culture where lynching can happen, which we know that there's been this proliferation of lynching happening in the last few months since we've been in the pandemic. So I think this is a really great tool. I encourage you all, like, copy, share it, and sit with it, and work with it with your families, people in your inner circle. So that's in there. And, you know, I just want us to keep talking about it. So thank you to Kaylee and Lindsay, who also shared some comments. And the thread is there for you to come back to. You might not be ready to do this particular work yet, or have not practiced or seen the tool. So come back to it, and then, you know, down the road, or in a week or so, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, come back and share your experiences, because we'll be revisiting this over time. And then 2 other things before we get to like how to be an anti-racist. I added in a learning tool, which I think is fantastic. Raise your hand if you have you listened to the 1619 podcast? Yeah.
I've
So
only listened to the first episode. I've started it.
oh, good. It's really, it's, you know, it's a lot. It's up and down. It's really good. So there's an opportunity. What we're going to do is spend some time breaking it down and, you know, sitting with it, the things, the learnings. So there's a link in here for, let's see. So we want to go through, so we're trying to come up with a group next week to talk through episode 1. So you're right on time. We're just doing episode 1. If you can, complete the Google form. The Google form is right here so that we can figure out who all, like what's the best meeting day for that small group to actually meet and debrief. So fill that out if you haven't done it. And then this is just the link to, episode 1 on the New York Times page. It's actually a link to all of them, but yeah, so it'll come right on up and you can just click it and it's 42 minutes. Okay, so then, hold on a second. There's noise in my house, hold on. Okay. Speakerphones, teenagers, lots of life happening, sorry. Okay, so then if you are just looking for a teaser and wanting to get introduced to the podcast, I put the trailer in there. So it lasts about 4 minutes, but it gives an overview of the podcast. I think it's really powerful. I learned, let's see, that they're doing a documentary on this, on 1619, but then also there's a curriculum. So I don't know if any of you are involved in, like on the school board. Okay. If you're involved in the school board or, you know, have some influence over, like if your children go to like an independent school or now you're homeschooling, then you are the boss completely. You are the superintendent. But there's a space, there's a curriculum coming out that teaches American history with all of the information in 1619. So check that out, check those links out. But we're gonna spend some time going, talking through each episode. So I'm excited to do that with someone because I just listened to it and I was kind of on my own. Episodes 4 and 5 specifically talk about the health system and the way white supremacy is built into our healthcare system. So that I think is going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to you all, as many of you who can join us for that. And then one other podcast that I added, Layla, I think it's Saad. She has a podcast called Good Ancestor. And she's got so many good episodes. I added that today, hoping, I'm gonna keep doing that, y'all, because I'm still a newbie to Google Classroom. Okay, yeah, so her podcast, Good Ancestor, the episode 28 specifically is a mom, a Black British mom. Yeah, so about motherhood, but I thought it was helpful. It was some good stuff that came out of that. And somebody shared it in the Facebook group, so it's also linked in our Facebook group if you want to do it from there. But she's got the YouTube channel, the transcript there. But I think that there's some amazing opportunities to learn. She also is the author of, she's got a book, Me and White Supremacy. And I think she was working on a workbook, which is really intriguing to me for people doing your personal work and being able to have a space to work it out. By the way, if I haven't said it on other calls, I think it's important for you to be journaling while you're doing this work, so you can kind of keep your thoughts and go back to them. But yeah, so anyway, I think she's a great resource, and I wanted to sneak her in here right beside Dr. Kendi, as we're going to spend some time with his work. Does anyone have questions about Google Classroom? Nope, nope, nope. So this whole grades thing, y'all, I will figure out how to turn it off. Yeah, no, I'm not grading now. I mean, I know. So for me, as soon as I see in red, it says missing, that triggers me. I'm like, let me go like do my own assignment that I gave out to people. But I don't care. I do. It is kind of cool when I do see the turned in, but everybody has to do their own pace. And I had to put dates in there just for being able to mark the videos, like when we did them. So it's that. But hopefully you'll find that we'll keep adding. If there's some things that you want, some projects that you think are worthy of us spending time, and you might, even if you want a small group around it, like Jessica Steiger mentioned, she wanted to read The New Jim Crow, that book. We can add that, and if there's people who are interested, then we'll schedule a work group and where you all can read and meet, outside of the larger, bigger group. And that way you can get support, and you all can go at your own pace with that smaller group. Okay, does this sound interesting to you all? Like, yeah, okay, all right.
Reve, I have to say that the classroom format works so great for me, because I was like, I've got deadlines. I told the kids, like, you got to sit down. I have homework. It says right here when it's due. So like, I'm doing this now. So I was like,
good.
It's all organized. I love it.
Okay, yeah. The organizing was like driving me crazy. I couldn't really figure out how to keep us like, keep it all like separated, but like keep it flowing. So I'm hoping that this is going to work for us. Please give me feedback. I'll definitely ask for some more formal feedback in about 2 weeks. And I hope that this is just a space that will grow. We're going to figure it out. We'll have more people involved in helping lead discussions, because I won't be able to be in all the book groups and read all the books. So it gives other people a chance to step up to lead. If it's like the thing you're like, I absolutely love this book and I'm fired up, then if that's your jam, then I'm all with it for you to lead a small group and help us learn. Okay, so we have, so here's the link for, in terms of how to be an anti-racist. There was the webinar that was held by the Baltimore Public Library on Monday. And I thought it was a great discussion. Oh, what was it? Say it again.
It was the PG County Public Libraries.
Oh, I gave credit to Baltimore. We can't give credit to Baltimore. I mean, come on, y'all. Y'all. Give Baltimore some credit for something good. Come on. All right. So for PG County Library, and I thought it was really good. I know they had some technical stuff in the beginning, but the link to the Eventbrite is there, but this actual image is the YouTube video. Yeah. So it's only available. Oh, let me stop it. Okay. It's only available for 30 days from Monday. So I don't know what they're going to do after that, but hopefully everybody will get a chance to take a look. So the video is there, so you can get that done. And then today, what we were going through is talking through chapters 1 through 5. So no fretting if you didn't make it. This is some dense stuff, okay? It's dense. So I feel like we could talk about this for weeks, and it's still a lot of information. It's layered, and it's a book that you're gonna have to keep coming back to. That's how I feel. But oh, okay, y'all, I'm gonna keep messing this up. Hold on, find my way in this. All right, so I added some questions here to guide us, but we really can start with any kind of, if we can be open-ended, if people had thoughts, their immediate or overarching thoughts so far about chapters 1 through 5, you know, even about Professor Kendi or Dr. Kendi's own personal experience. Anyone surprised about like how early he came to his awareness around race and his reaction to it? Let me try to figure out how to minimize. It's still project. Yes, Shannon. Yes, please.
I'm just thinking, I was really grateful that he did that.
Okay.
I've been listening to the talk and the discussions for several years, but for a long time, all I heard was Black people can't be racist, LGBTQ people can't be homophobic, women can't be sexist, we can't be against our own group. But I always sort of had the instinct that we could be. And when I heard that, it was like, thank you. Like yeah, it kind of verified some things that had been in my mind and my heart. And it made me feel like he's coming down to my level. like he's going to be able to talk to me as an equal and not as in, well, gosh, isn't that ironic that I'm saying equal, because things have been so unequal. Now I'm just having a little thought. Yeah. And so I'm above me right now, but traditionally I've been above him in terms of like socio-cultural, that he gets a level that I can understand and start to meet him through that way. There, I guess that's my thought.
Yeah, so I was a little thrown off by him saying Black people, like, you know, we couldn't be racist. I'm like, I mean, that we could be racist. That I think I hear a lot, hear that said, the opposite of that said quite a lot. Any thoughts around that? Any shock or any like raised eyebrows?
I can just say, you know, the day my grandma, who identified as female, the day she told me, she said, I want me and my president to always be a man because I just don't think women are cut out for those jobs. That was the day I figured out, that's sexist, but women can't be sexist, so I don't get it. So it kind of helps confirm for me, yeah, I've kind of seen it. So.
I would like to hear your weigh in on this, Reve, because I'm not sure which way to go on that. I hear the mixed reviews and I'm not sure how I honestly feel on it. So can we not? I'd like to know.
Ooh, so I think I've been avoiding that. So here's, okay. So I grew up in a house where my dad worked in he was the first this, the first that in the state of Wisconsin of this, that, the best, in terms of a Black person achieving things. And then I ended up doing a lot of that too. We find ourselves in these spaces where the first, the this, the that. My dad faced a lot of racism, and he watched his father and grandfather, who was a sharecropper in Tennessee, face quite a lot of racism. And so in our household, when he went out into the world, he did what he had to do. When he came home, he debriefed. And y'all know how we debrief. It's white folks, white people, and it's all true. It's all fact, right? So that's my space of learning about white people, and then going out into the world and learning how to do what my dad did, right? Like you work through it, you work with them or with you all, and then you come home and when you face the racism, you debrief. So for me, I'm not, the jury is out for me. I'm like, can we be racist? Because all of that I heard, I actually feel like it was true. It is true. I feel like it's truth telling. You have to find a way to blow off steam. And yet there's this grouping, like white people. I do it. I still do it. Because it's true. Like, it's like white people do. Like, and I usually say to my friend, like, y'all know y'all do this, right? And and no, maybe you don't do it because you're consciously not doing it, but like, this is what y'all do. This is how you all treat us. So I'm doing the grouping. And then, yeah, so when I was listening to him talk about, you know, the grouping and how that is racist and not anti-racist, I was like, let me sit with that. I'm not, because I'm feeling like it's true what we say. I'm not out to hurt people or misassign things to people, but I'm willing to consider that that's what's happening. So the jury is out. I don't know. It's the jury is out.
I don't know. I guess to me it sounds kind of like what you're saying, Reve, is that your dad was recognizing what was happening to him. And so I'm a little bit careful in characterizing. I know my dad grew up in Jim Crow South, okay?
Yes.
And so did my mom. My grandmother had medical apartheid committed to her from her dentist. So for me, it's completely different to recognize what a reality is as opposed to being racist. And so if you like go home and you digest these experiences that you've had in the world with your safe space, I don't feel like that's being racist. I feel like that's digesting the experiences that you had. Now, I find that it would be one thing, and I can't even say, I mean, very often we hear the argument that, you know, Black people can't be racist simply because we don't hold the position of power to be racist, which according to the definition is correct. But I think it's fine to recognize when we as Black people are having prejudice, when we're living out prejudice in our life. But I think it's a far leap to say that we're racist. I mean, I'm fine with people even saying like, oh, that Black person's being pretty hateful right now. That could be very true, depending upon what the instance is. But for it to actually be an occurrence of racism, it kind of goes a little deeper than just feelings of hatred and prejudice, because we have to actually look at what the definition of racism is.
Yeah. Yes, Whitney.
I have a comment.
Oh, who was
So
that?
I was reading in this is Nat. I was reading in the thread or Twitter, I don't know, something regarding this topic. And there were some Black people who didn't agree with this book. They said that it was a very dangerous for this book to be published, saying that people of color can be racist. And then now that that's published, you know, then people of privilege can misinterpret and use that against the community with people of color, and that it's not safe. And so I think it's important to understand that not everyone agrees about that, and it depends on your perspective and the definition itself of racism. And you know, if you're, you know, called a racist or named a racist, like, you know, it depends on the situation, what you're talking to, but it's really dangerous to label somebody incorrectly.
Thank you. 100% agree. Okay, so I think, Whitney, you were next.
I sort of speaking to what Shannon said, I think to me, the word prejudice, it's sort of being racism is being used for the word prejudice, if that sort of makes sense, as opposed. So it's just like, I think definitions are so important right now. And, but I just wanted to pose the question or share an experience that I had. So when I worked with Early Head Start, I worked with mostly North African and Middle Eastern recent immigrants. And so when you define Black, is that a Black American versus someone from elsewhere? And I, with the North African population, really struggled to get them to come to events where American Black people were. And I could not. I'm from South Carolina, and I have not seen prejudice like this. And so that was a really interesting thing that I saw. I don't know, I'm just intrigued by that thought and what you guys think.
Oh yeah, so Black is on an umbrella for people in the diaspora, the African diaspora. So we're definitely different. I have friends who are from the Caribbean. They don't get necessarily the emotional connection. They do the intellectual piece around Black American experience in slavery from the South. But the heart, like, it's not in their DNA. They definitely respond differently. Yeah, it's really different. And so, like, I'm here in Miami, and if we all might look Black, but there's Haitian, there's Jamaican, there's, I get the question all the time, which is completely lost on me when I first moved here. Where are you from? Because my last name, my name sounds French, I suppose, Reve Sinclair. And so if people thought I was Haitian, but I didn't look Haitian. I actually looked, to most people, I guess, Dominican, because I wear my hair a little bit curly. So they were completely confused. I speak no Spanish, not one stitch, not a one. And I say I'm from Wisconsin, and they're like, oh, okay, but where's your family from? And I'm like, yeah, my family's from Wisconsin. And they ask a third time, and I'm like, from Tennessee and Arkansas, like, we came over here on a boat, y'all. I don't know what else you're asking of me, but this, like, being an African American, yes, is very different. Like, the Black experience is an umbrella for sure.
It's definitely. I'm
Yeah.
Trinidadian, so I came here when I was 12, and up to a couple months ago, but not too long ago, it's like, I'm still learning, right? Because I'm Black, but I'm from the Caribbean, so it's totally different. Like, when I moved here, this was the most white people I've ever seen, because like, growing up, I've only had one white girl in my class, and it never like occurred to me any different, right? But when I moved over here, I was like it's totally different. And then up to recently, like, I have to still ask those questions, like, people who recently died or civil rights. I'm like, who is that? Like, what did they do? Like, and they're like, but you went through school. I'm like, yeah, but I also went through school in Trinidad, and I mostly, my history there is what I'm tied to, and it's totally different from, like, yes, we're Black, but it's totally different from your history here. So I still get called, like, get picked on for kind of not knowing this stuff and things like that. So yes, now I experience some of what they've experienced, but for them, it goes back and back and back from generations, and parents telling them stories and things they've seen. So it's more enhanced in them. So it's totally different. And then they, like, Black Americans and they act different. They totally act different. So when you're inviting some of them here and they're like, I kind of know what this culture is. And they kind of like, they're more reserved in a sense. They're kind of like, look at like, oh, because when you're Black American, you're like having fun, like, this is your norm, but they're like more kind of uptight, but not because they want to be that way, but because the culture is different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're learning. And I think if you add a layer of being African, like, actually born on the continent, raised, there's a difference. And quite honestly, in my experience, everybody thinks that they're a notch above African, like, Black Southern Americans, to be really fair. In my experience, everybody thinks we're the bottom of the barrel and yet don't respect the fact that you have an opportunity here because of what my ancestors did and endured on this land. You,
This is
as a
true.
Black person, have the ability to come here, make money, send it back home because of what my ancestors did in the South. So
Yeah,
it's fascinating, the disrespect that even happens amongst us. So
they tend to put Black Americans down. They do.
boo, you better show some respect. You wouldn't be here without us. Believe that. Would none of us be here without us. So, anything else around that? Because I know it is controversial. Like I said, the jury is out on the can I be racist? Because, you know, like Shannon was saying, like, you know, we're sharing our real life experiences and what we see. And so it's, I'm not certain. I'll sit with this book for a little while, for sure. But anything else that stood out for you all that you were like, ooh, I wonder, or I really don't get this. I'm really lost on this. Anybody? Let's see. Okay, so question number 2 that I posted in the classroom is, Kendi writes, the only way to undo racism is to constantly identify it and describe it, and then dismantle it. Why does he believe we need to call out racism when we see it, even if it can be uncomfortable to identify? So why do you think, or are you all finding that constantly identifying and describing it to dismantle it, is that a strategy that you're employing? And if so, are you finding it effective?
Go, right? Yeah, I'm finding it, I think you mentioned it in past weeks, it's like a muscle that you have to keep using to get more and more comfortable with. And I feel like over the time of doing this work, I don't like using the word easy, but it becomes more innate, I guess would be the way to say it, to catch it quicker, to catch the thought before an action or saying something happens, or to catch and tune into that intuitive feeling when you're around others, like sort of what we were talking about last week with the racist joke, like something doesn't feel right, I don't like the way this conversation's going, and to be able to stop it earlier before it gets to a point of the precursor before the racist joke or commentary. But it takes practice, like more and more conversations to get not necessarily like more comfortable because it's so ingrained for so many years, but to just get more used to talking about racism, identifying it within myself and others.
Yeah, I think like what Whitney was saying is like definitions are really important, and there was a list of definitions. I'll post them in the assignment so that we can spend some time focusing on that for the future chapters. But yeah, language is important in being able to grab it quickly and be able to break down some of the arguments that people make, like have a good strategy or an approach. Anyone else feeling like fatigued with identifying it and addressing it for the dismantling? I see your hand, Betsy.
Yeah, I was going to say before you started that question is one thing that I appreciated was in his definitions, he noted like there's systemic racism and institutional racism and interpersonal racism, and that harkens back to some work that you and I have done on separate projects. But also I like that he boiled it down to just like, it's just racism. Like it's all the same thing and it's about power and policy and that's it. And I really appreciated sort of, instead of the window dressing of like 12 different ways to come at it, just it's the one thing and that's all it is. It's not rocket science.
No,
it's just racism.
Right, the root of it, the function of it, the purpose of it, the motivation behind it is really all the same. Like, I'm going to try to control, I want to keep power, I want, and to stay on top, you have to have somebody underneath you. And so, you know, and doing that along racial ethnic lines. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else really starting to pick up this muscle, building up this muscle of like addressing it? Yes, Katie.
Yeah, kind of jumping off that muscle and like, yeah, it's like a workout, you know? And I have a few friends that I am in pretty regular conversation with around these topics and trying to understand, is this racist? Okay, why? And I think really picking up the nuance on like the why is really important because it allows me to recognize other patterns when I see them come up. So other, like sometimes racism, oftentimes, you know, looking at that pyramid is so nuanced. And so it's, you know, hard for someone who's in a white body where things are just normal to pick up on that nuance, but having those conversations around why really helped me to pick it up in other circumstances of like, oh, that's just like this, and that's also racist. And then that's like this, and that's also racist. And so like understanding all of that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is often linked. Yeah, and I think it's the minimum. I like that the pyramid so much because when you get into like I don't care, like the indifference phase, it's like that's the beginning because you gotta care. Like you don't care that people are being treated unfairly, or you know, like that's craziness. But okay, and then getting into the minimizing. You know, oh, it's just a joke, or boys will be boys, or they didn't mean that. What do you mean they didn't mean that? Like who puts who hangs a rope in like a NASCAR garage? Like why are we doing that? Like what's the purpose of it? Like it has, yeah, that's not just people messing around or joking around. Like that's intentional. And let's stop minimizing behavior that you're like, call a spade a spade. Like, you know, somebody did that intentionally to intimidate or to send a message. Like, let's stop excusing crazy behavior like that. That's ridiculous. Okay, so then let's see. All right, so the central message in this book is that the opposite of racist isn't not racist, but the true opposite of racist is anti-racist. And Professor Kendi writes, the good news is that racist and anti-racist are not fixed identities. We can be racist one minute and anti-racist the next. Do we agree with that?
May I speak?
Yeah.
I thought that was such an interesting thing. I haven't read the chapters yet, but I did watch that video, for lack of a better word, webinar. And I thought that was so spot on, because a lot of white people will be like, oh, I'm not racist because X, Y, Z. But what they fail to realize is that it's not a fixed thing. You can, you know, be acting anti-racist one minute, but then be very, very racist the next. And so anyway, with all that being said, I 100% agree with that. I thought that was like so spot on. I thought that was really a really good point to make.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I think in my life, I've had to think about it, you know, where you have someone who's in your life who's not Black, at least and I'm like, wait, did you just say that? You know, and you're like, you know, you have experiences with people and, you know, you're like, okay, I didn't know you had it in you. But exploring that, yeah, that your identity can shift. I mean, that's part of the privilege that you have. And so further in this thought, it says, what does it mean to have to constantly reaffirm your identity as an anti-racist? Is there any benefit to the fact that you can't just decide you're not racist or an anti-racist and be done with it? That people have to keep working at it. How does that make you feel, that thought? That you're not like, I'm anti-racist and it's done and I can go live my life, but that you, every day, you know, I have to demonstrate that. How does that make you feel? Anybody, because apparently, according to him, we all can be racist. Yes, Leah.
I think the initial thing is it feels tiring. I know that may seem kind of shitty to say, but it is. It seems really tiring, but it's really important because if it was enough to just say I'm anti-racist, then we wouldn't have racism anymore. So I think it's really important to have those conversations still. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yes, Whitney.
I'm trying to think of which comedian it is that does a whole bit about he's gonna do like you can take this webinar thing. But that's, you can't just decide and like, I can't just after this class decide. But you have to work every day to be a good person. Like just because I volunteer tomorrow doesn't mean I can, run somebody over with my car the next day, so there's a lot of things in life that we have to continue to work for.
Mm-hmm.
So it is exhausting, I guess, sometimes, but it's just like, so is being a human.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, you have to work, to get food, and, you buy a pair of shoes for these kids, and you got to buy another pair, it's just, that's life. Like there's, it's effort for a lot of things. Why not put forth effort for humanity? I imagine that. I think it's hard in our society. We're thinking about capitalism, and when capital, or when Black bodies were chattel, or maybe, I guess in some ways we're still considered in the Constitution 3/5 of a person, right? So if we're currency, then we're an object that, we're like you can upgrade, you can trade, you can, yeah. So undoing some of that thinking that's in a lot of our DNA is important. Anyone else have thoughts around that?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that, of course, you would need to do work every day. Every single system and interaction we have is racist, like every system. So every single thing that you do, when you go to the bank is a racist industry that participated in slavery. Like, so
that was the currency. Slavery
right.
was the currency. Wells Fargo.
Of course you would need Wells Fargo, Chase, many. Of course you would need to do work every single day. I could see how that would be exhausting to white people, as exhausting as it is for us being Black every single day in a racist system. So I think, if we have to do our work, it is time that white people are doing their work. And I definitely think you can go in between being racist and anti-racist, depending on the environment, the people, because just like somebody was saying earlier, in that whole pyramid of like calling your family out, you can be anti-racist at work, but then when it comes to your family, you can be participating a passive racist by not calling them out on the things that they're doing and saying that are racist. So it is definitely very fluid.
That's excellent. Thank you. Thank you. I want to give a little bit of time for the Black women on the call to have some space to share. If you came to the call and you had any particular thoughts or challenges, I've started to really love this part of our calls because I get surprised every week. So I appreciate you all coming, not wanting you to have to do heavy lifting, but if you did want to share something, I want to give you time and space to share. Okay, we're all good. I know I've been messaging with some of you. I know we're not all good, but y'all know what I mean. We're okay today.
Well,
Vanessa,
I
is
just
your
kind of,
mom better? I wanted to ask you about that.
yeah, so I was just kind of thinking about what I wanted to say because the people that know me on this call know that I'm lost for words very rarely. Um, so she's doing well. She has to go back in in September. So I'll go back to Michigan then because she's also going to be having unrelated cataract surgery. But I don't know where I am. I think it is. I don't know. I have to think about what I'm going to say, so I'm just going to say nothing for now.
Okay. I normally have things to say too, but I feel tired this week. Like, I don't know how many weeks we've been doing this, but I'm really tired. Like, kind of like on the weary side of tired. So I'm hanging on. Basically.
Oh, I remember. So
okay.
I had a conversation with those roommates of mine, and I'll try to speak softly because I'm just got home. It was an experience. It was tense. It was heated. He was mad. At some points, I was irritated. It was like a 20-minute conversation. For those who weren't on that call or didn't hear my reporting, I had an issue with my roommates not like speaking to me or acting very weird for like 3 or 4 weeks, and me assuming that it's because I talk about white people and race and everything all the time. And so I finally just decided to take the initiative because I'm not a passive aggressive person, which is exactly the behavior that they were giving me. And so during the conversation, many things were brought up. So just some context, my roommates, one is Argentinian, the woman, and the male is Irish. So both foreigners with a, different perspective and not spending a lot of time in the United States. But, he referenced his Irish heritage and if I knew about their history in this country. And then, of course, I said yes, and just explaining like that's not the same as chattel slavery, and it never will be, and it's not comparable. And so we can acknowledge both, people and understand and leave it there. And then, when I was just talking about saying like many Americans don't even know about that because American educational system is trash. So I was like, that's not going to be a reason for them to discriminate against you in employment or housing or anything like that. And, when I told him that that was a privilege of him being a white male, he told me I'm not privileged. And I said, everybody's privileged for a variety of reasons. And I said, you definitely are privileged. And I told him and his girl that they might want to Google what it means to be anti-racist. So I had asked, like, are there Black people in Ireland? Are there Black people in Argentina? Yes. I said, well, guess what? Racism is probably the most overt in the United States, but I said, anywhere you see Black people, they are experiencing racism. So this will not be the last time. You just might not have been aware. If there are people in both of you all's respective countries, you just had the privilege of not knowing that they were experiencing racism. So now that you know, anywhere you go, those Black people are experiencing racism too. And so there were some other things that were brought up, but it was just really, I went through a range of emotions, and the conversation ended well. Of course, I was called hostile in the conversation. And, I had to explain that I'm not hostile, I'm passionate. And then, he was able to admit that because he had not brought some concerns to me, which was, y'all, the concerns they had were, I think, childish and trivial. And everybody else that I told the whole conversation was like, seriously? But he was able to admit, that he had made some assumptions because he didn't have conversation. And that's what happens when you don't communicate with people. It makes it easy for you to make assumptions. And we were able to both, identify that this is the first time that that I've lived with someone that's white and that they've lived with someone that's Black. So it was a good, it was a, decent ending, but I felt a range of emotions. At first, I just felt relieved. It was anxious to have to initiate the conversation when I'm like, you're upset at me about me talking about white people and racism. So that made me angry that I had to do that work. And I just went through, a lot of variety of emotions. And then I kind of because I had to then I went to work that night. So it was like the next day I was at work, I was kind of contemplating well, how are things going to be when I come back? So that was, providing me with some level of anxiety and just angry that I had to kind of do that work, but relieved that at least it had been addressed and, I knew where things stood. And one of the things I had told him in the conversation, I was like, he was basically saying he was tired of hearing me talking about racism. He didn't use those exact words, but I was like, well, I'm not going to stop. So that if that's a problem for you, it's going to be a problem because I don't have that luxury of deciding I don't want to hear about racism. I said, because as soon as I go out these doors, or really when I get on the internet, I can experience and see racism. And it's a benefit for you that when you get home, you get to decide to turn off whether or not you want to hear about what is someone's lived experience every single day. So one of my friends was telling me, she was like, you probably taught him a lot of things, not just about racism, but, how to deal with conflict. I, was saying we don't have to address every single thing that happens as people who live together. But I'm like, you modified your behavior and how you treated me instead of having a conversation with me. And that's childish and that's not appropriate.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah, there's a lot of lessons in that. Thank you for sharing. I mean, because my heart went out to you. I'm like, oh, they live in the house with you? Oh, God. You can't even get away from it on top of everything else that was going on. So yeah, thank you having that conversation. And it's it's not, I'm sure, a conversation you wanted to have to initiate. It would have been nice for the other adults to be mature and just say, hey, here's what's going on. But we also have to recognize that people don't have the words, haven't exercised the muscle, and we suffer if we don't take the lead. So we're finding ourselves leading in these conversations after all these years of us constantly, Black women being doing the heavy lifting. And it is exhausting. And at the same time, I'm like, listen, if I got to be in this workspace with you, in this birth world with you, I need y'all to have some language. I need y'all to have explored what you are doing and help in the fight for Black women to stop dying in childbirth or, the first 47 days post-birth. I mean, we can't do it on our own. Everybody have to get with it, get some awareness and get with it. So thank you. Thank you, Vanessa. Anyone else? I know we're over time. We just constantly are over time, but the conversations are important. An hour just isn't enough.
I wanted to just give an update. I know I haven't been on the calls, but the last time I was on a call, I was facing a problem with not my client, but the family. And I didn't tell my boss at the time. I just was trying to deal with it myself. But when I first told her, it didn't go so well, as sympathetic as I thought it would be. But then 2 days later, she called and she apologized and told me she was scared, that she didn't know what to do. So I thought that was so big of her. And I was definitely understanding because I felt the same way, right? I was scared to tell her and didn't know how to have the conversation. And yeah, I think that's just how that went. And I just left it at, she just asked me what she could do next time, or if someone else brought up and had those same problems, how should she address it? And I gave her some pointers and left it at that, because no, I didn't like her first reaction, but I also wanted to extend grace. So next time she would feel more, she would feel better about addressing it, or have some tools to pull out if someone came to her with the same concerns, as she has other people of color on her staff. So I felt good about it after.
That's good to know, because we're all in community with one another. I was like, who is that agency owner?
No, she's nice. She's nice. She just,
I know.
I think she,
So I'm
yeah.
glad she, yeah. But everybody's coming around. Like,
yeah.
She took a couple days, had to kind of maybe retool it in her mind and kind of, yeah, it's a lot. We're all trying to figure it out. So good.
But thank everyone for giving me their feedback and for encouraging me to talk to her, because I wasn't going to.
You're welcome. Okay. Any thoughts, any parting thoughts before we go? We're going to do the next couple of chapters. I think there's, so we're going to do 6 through 8, I think, for the next call. I wrote it down, but 6 through 8. So we'll go through, and I will definitely add to that, to the assignment link, definitions. Because I think Whitney, you pointed out, like, language is so important. So making sure that we're sort of sorting this out in our minds, and that can help deepen our ability to identify what's happening in the different situations that we're facing. Probably mostly with our families, because that's who we're quarantined with. And then if we're all working, and I pray that we all get back to working, we can talk more about that online too, trying to share some tips about getting back to work, and how to reorg and pivot your business. That's another important side to the work that we're doing here. But like JL was experiencing like a kind of like a racist situation. And so I appreciate that intersection here. But yeah, I want to make sure that we're all well, but also have good language as we're interacting with people and being able to identify what's going on here. Is this just like a lack of understanding, or is this like something more sinister and intentional? There's those different levels going on. So, okay, everybody. I always appreciate you all jumping on. So now that we have the Google Classroom, we will not have a replay in the off week. People will just have a chance to watch, and they'll get to see your beautiful faces. So I will see you all in 2 weeks, and I'll definitely see you online. So keep commenting, and then join the circle, like put your information in if you want to be in one of the podcast smaller groups. I'm looking forward to those smaller group conversations too. Okay. All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a good night. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.